So, is Britain doomed? It's the question on everybody's mind, right? We're seeing a record number of people packing their bags and leaving the country, taking their skills, their wealth, and their futures with them. Today, we're going to get into what's really going on, what's driving this mass exodus, and, what does it actually mean for the future of the UK? Let's dive in.
Now, to really unpack all of this, we're drawing on a deep dive analysis put together by the experts over at My Tax Accountant. They've crunched the numbers, they've gone through the policies, and they've given us a really clear picture of what is, let's be honest, a very urgent situation. And this is where the story really kicks off. 257,000. That is the revised number of Brits who left the UK in 2024. And what's just staggering about this is that this number is over 250% higher than what the Office for National Statistics first told us. So this isn't just a trend, it's a massive, massive problem that's way bigger than anyone thought. Okay, so to get our heads around this, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the exodus itself. Then we're going to look at the two big crises that are fueling it, the brain drain and the wealth flight. After that, we'll see how that affects the entire country, what the government is trying to do about it, and finally, what all this might mean for your own finances. So here's the thing you've got to understand. This isn't just one single story. It's actually two completely different stories happening at the exact same time. It's a tale of two very different groups of people leaving Britain for two totally different reasons, and it's creating what you might call a perfect storm for the UK economy. And this really lays it out perfectly, the two sides of the coin. On one side, you've got the brain drain. We're talking skilled workers, young professionals who are basically facing a crisis of affordability. And on the other side, the wealth flight. This is the high net worth crowd, and for them, it's a crisis of confidence. Let's dig into that brain drain first. All right, so this first part of the crisis, it's all about the daily grind, the struggle for skilled people trying to make a living. And this is so important because it affects almost every single young professional in the country, whether they're thinking about leaving or just trying to hang on and make it work. So what's pushing them out? Well, the numbers tell a pretty grim story. Polls are showing that over half of young people between 18 and 30 have seriously thought about leaving the UK. And honestly, can you blame them? If you're in London, it's not crazy for your rent to eat up 40 to 50% of your paycheck. It really feels like that basic promise, work hard and you'll get ahead, is just falling apart for a whole generation. Let's make this a bit more real. Just picture a freelance graphic designer living in London, super talented, works hard, but her rent is just crippling. The rates she can charge for projects haven't moved, but the cost of everything else has gone through the roof. And the dream of ever owning her own home, it feels like a total fantasy. So when she starts looking at other cities abroad with lower costs and maybe better gigs, well, leaving starts to feel less like a choice and more like the only sensible option. That's the human story behind these stats. But it's not just the young professionals feeling the squeeze. Oh no, a completely different drama is unfolding at the other end of the economic ladder. This story isn't about paying the rent. It's about a total collapse in confidence in the UK itself. Now let's look at what's causing that. And the big trigger for this, it's the end of the non-dom status. For literally centuries, this rule was a massive carrot dangled in front of the world's super rich. It meant they could live in the UK but not pay UK tax on their money from overseas. But from April 6th, 2025, that's all over. And this wasn't just a small tweak to the rules. It sent a massive shockwave through the global investor community. And the result of that shockwave? A projected net loss of 16,500 millionaires in 2025 alone. Just to put that into perspective, that is the largest expected exodus of wealthy people in the entire world, more than double the number expected to leave China. It's a pretty staggering vote of no confidence, paid for with their checkbooks. So where are they all going? Well, this slide makes it painfully obvious. When you put the UK's tax system side by side with a place like the UAE, wow, the difference is just night and day. You got a 45% top income tax rate versus 0, up to 24% on capital gains versus 0, a 40% inheritance tax versus 0. I mean, for people who can move their money anywhere, the choice is becoming brutally simple. Okay, and here's a pro tip for you, straight from the experts at My Tax Accountant. The old non-dom status is out, and it's being replaced by this new 4-year foreign income and gains regime, or the FIG regime. But that's not all. Here's where most people might get tripped up. They underestimate just how complex this is. The rules to switch over are like a minefield. So for anyone this might affect, getting to grips with this stuff before it all kicks in properly in April 2026 isn't just a smart move, it is absolutely essential to protect your assets. So right about now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, so young folks are struggling, the rich are leaving. Why should this matter to me? Well, this is where it all comes together, because this double exodus creates a domino effect that, believe me, hits every single person left behind. The fallout is huge. It shrinks the tax base, which means less money for everything, from fixing potholes to funding your local library. It slows down innovation because the entrepreneurs and investors are taking their big ideas elsewhere. And stay with me because this next point might actually shock you. Get this. After some recent policy changes, work visa grants for care workers dropped by a staggering 88%. That puts an almost unbelievable strain on services we all rely on, like the NHS. To really hammer home the financial hit, let's just ask a simple question. What is the actual measurable cost to the country's finances when just one millionaire decides to pack up and leave?
And the answer, according to the Adam Smith Institute, is an estimated £393,957. That's how much income tax revenue is lost from one person every single year. Now, multiply that by the 16,500 people who are expected to leave next year. The numbers are just astronomical, and that's a hole in the budget that has to be filled by everyone who stays.
So, facing this huge crisis, the government isn't just standing by. It's making a really bold, and let's be honest, a very risky gamble. It's a strategy designed to attract and keep a very specific kind of person in the country.
This table shows the new game plan in black and white. It's a tiered system for getting what's called indefinite leave to remain, which is basically the right to live and work here forever. And it's simple. Earn over about 125 grand, and you get fast-tracked to residency in just 3 years. Earn under 50 grand, and you could be waiting 10 years or even longer. The message is crystal clear. High earners are the #1 priority.
And what this creates is a very clear two-tier system. The idea is to hold on to that high-value financial talent to fill the gap left by the wealth flight. But the side effect is that essential workers, people in social care, logistics, the people who actually keep the country running day to day, they now face a much, much longer and more uncertain journey to call Britain their home. It's a policy that really makes you ask some fundamental questions about what kind of country is being built here. Which brings us right back to the beginning. Is Britain doomed? Well, no, not necessarily, but it is, without a shadow of a doubt, at a critical crossroads. The choices that are being made right now by the government and by individuals are going to define the UK's economy for a generation to come, and careful navigation is going to be everything. Which, of course, leads us to the final and probably the most important question. What on earth does all of this mean for you? Whether you're thinking about leaving, you're determined to stay, or you're considering investing here, you need to know that the ground beneath all of our feet has seriously shifted. Okay, before we go any further, I just need to say this. The information we've talked about in this discussion is for general guidance only. It is definitely not a substitute for professional tailored advice, and you really shouldn't rely on it alone to make big financial decisions. Look, this is complex, high-stakes stuff. Trying to figure out the new tax laws, that new FIG regime, or the residency pathways all by yourself is a huge risk. For proper, expert guidance on tax planning, residency, or any of the things we've covered today, we really do recommend you talk to the team at My Tax Accountant. You can give them a call on 0208-570-8531, or you can email them at info@mytaxaccountant.co.uk. And make sure you tell them you saw this analysis and they'll give you a priority consultation. Thanks for joining me.